Welcome back to another episode of Cyrus Podcast. I appreciate all of you for joining once again. Today, I have one of my very best friends and also a marketing and branding genius, Ryan Virga. What's up, man?
What's up, dude? Thanks for having me here. Excited to get things rolling.
No problem, man. So I'm really excited about getting... allowing your knowledge to be documented. And the reason that's exciting is you have an amazing background.
Thanks.
Phenomenal background. And can you share that with our audience for right now so they know who's talking to them?
Yeah, definitely. So I started off in design and marketing, actually with Audi. From there, I left into Magic Fashion Trade Show, if anybody knows about that, but it's the largest fashion trade show in the world. So I designed that. From there, I left to do a little stint in Google where we redesigned the ad platform. So if you guys use Google Ads, DV360, you're using my templates. From there, I dove back into cars. We went to Hyundai, Acura, Toyota, redesigned that brand, just actually launched Toyota's website. That's all been redesigned, which is really exciting. And then right now, working on app design with some startups and seeing what we can push from there.
That's amazing.
And just turned 28. So.
Yeah. slight flex there with Google. You designed Google Ads. It's freaking amazing. I can go into this and we can talk about your background all day long, but I'm not even going to get into this. I want this podcast to be about 10, 15 minutes of pure value. And with that being said, I want to talk about the difference between marketing and branding.
Very key.
Talk to me.
Yeah, marketing and branding. I think they get hand in hand reused and overused in the wrong way. So what's real quick and easy to understand the difference between marketing and branding? Branding is who you are. It's the logo. It's the color palette, the typography. It's everything about who you want to be and making sure people understand that. Marketing is how everybody else sees you, right? So you hire marketing companies, you hire people to, create something that on the outside they're able to understand. And that's always changing, right? The marketing always changes, but your brand should always stay the same. You should make sure your brand is consistent from day one and understand who you are and where your goals are. And then that marketing is there to spread the word.
So what marketing? Okay, let me break this down. Branding is your what I talk about is like core values. It's your core value of how people see you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And marketing is the tools.
Essentially, yeah. Marketing is going to get the attention from your consumer market, right? They're going to be the ones that are going to help you drive sales. It's the campaigns, right? You can work for a company and you can have a whole marketing team understand your brand and help figure out how to expedite that brand and make it just get it larger, right? It's like when I was doing the Super Bowl commercial with Hyundai, we did the Smallpox Super Bowl commercial, right? So we're understanding that the brand is Hyundai and the marketing behind it is how can we advertise these vehicles in a really funny and unique way, right?
That's a perfect example. Hyundai is the brand. The commercial is the marketing. So now let's take this into the real estate industry, right? Let's take this from car, Google, so on and so forth. Let's talk about the real estate industry. A real estate agent, branding versus marketing. What would that look like?
Yeah, so you guys need to really, depending on where you're at in your marketing or branding or the other career of what you're a startup or
let's say the agent is a brand new agent. And they want to go in and they want to brand themselves and market themselves as XYZ agent.
Okay, do we want steps of things of how I would go as a brand?
Yes.
Okay, first things first is you need to start looking at your competition. Really understand where your corner of the market is going to be, right? So if you're going out, you think you have a great idea, I'm willing to bet someone else has already done it. So really make sure you're going out, understanding the competition and where you sit and fit into that competition and how you're different, right? Figure out your logo, your color palette, your typography, your key phrases of like, what's Keystone's key phrase, right? What's the one thing that you always introduce Keystone as?
We're a marketing team that does real estate.
Boom. You need that tagline, right? Because these are the things that are going to make you stand out as an individual, that other people are going to immediately understand who you are based on your logo, your identity. They're going to think of you and all these things that come with it, right?
Yeah.
And then you want to make sure, which is really key, we're not copying others, right? We want to make sure you're really standing out and being very unique, because for all of the millennials who are going to be a huge, huge buying force, and the Gen Zs that are coming up, your brand defines who you are, and people are willing to buy from someone who has a brand that identifies with them the most, right? So we can smell fake from a mile away, right? Are you doing things cheesy? Are you just doing it with stock photos? Are you, being extremely predictable? Are you being authentic? Are you showing like personality? Are you being real? Can we connect with you? And if you have yet that brand, those core values of really understanding who you are, what you want to be, and finding that targeted market, the younger generation, our generation, right? They're going to really, really connect to that.
Which, by the way, for anybody that doesn't understand this yet, the Millennial Buyer is the biggest buying generation in history. And it's right now, right? The prime age for purchasing a property is 25 to 35, and it's the biggest generation, is the millennial generation right now. So with that being said, like understanding how we're going to brand ourselves, we need to understand how we're going to brand ourselves to appease the millennial generation, right? And then also now we've figured out, okay, this is who we are, this is who we want to be perceived as, so on and so forth, right? Now, how do we get that out to people? How do people know about that?
That's where marketing comes in, right? So once we've mastered, and maybe we do an episode on like, dive a little bit more deeper into what branding is, how to get a good logo and stuff like that. That's maybe something.
Well, maybe I'm going to convince you right now to continue and to do a series with me on these next subjects.
Yeah, let's do it. Definitely. So let's into marketing, right? Marketing always changes, but the brand is forever, right? So when we're thinking about marketing and marketing to a millennial and somebody who's a Gen Z, social media is going to be a huge influence. Having a good website, having a good rapport in the digital world is going to be extremely key, right? You can make mistakes, and that's fine. And that's where marketing comes in, is figuring out what's going to get the most outreach from your specific targeted user, who's going to be your target market, who's going to actually, relate to you the most. And these are going to be experimental times for you, right? Nobody has it out 100% on your first try, especially if you're new. But this is what is really, really key as we move forward. Social media is a huge influence. Reels, TikTok. I just actually heard something that TikTok is actually Gen Z's Google. They're getting more searches, and they're actually, there's an issue with like Google and YouTube, right? They've always been the number one search engine, essentially. Yeah. That's why Google owns YouTube. But TikTok now, from all the how-to videos and educational videos and the way that their algorithm is set, Gen Z is more likely to search and learn on TikTok than they are in just a normal web browser.
Which is crazy because, like, it's so true, because how many times I've heard, oh, how'd you learn that? They're like, oh, I learned it on TikTok.
Yeah.
And wow, that is pretty impressive.
So understanding, right, off the bat that social media plays a huge influence in the next generation, right? And like millennials, depending on where you're set at, right? Luckily, we're like at the very bottom, so we're pretty close to understanding. We have YouTube Shorts, Reels, TikTok. It's a lot of work, and it should feel like a lot of work at first to be posting on these things, right? You need to be trustworthy. You need to figure out how to get in front of the camera, because you being in front of the camera is just like you being in front of a client. Yeah. You need to figure out the words, the catchphrases, figure out what you are able to teach the client and teach others, and figure out your own personality on those websites or social media and your videos and stuff like that. So when you come out authentic. That's who you are. When they meet you, they feel connected to you. Because I just also read something that, if you're referred from a friend in our generation, right? Yeah. they're 90% about to convert. They're 90% more likely to convert, right?
Yep.
So then you're at 40% if they just hear your name from somebody, right? Word of mouth. Go knock on 100,000 doors, or make one video that gets 100,000 views, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to be extremely useful for you, right? So getting out there and just having someone understand who you are and understand your name is going to be key. And also just looking the part. And that comes down to your website. Is it accessible? Is it old? Hopefully not.
Let's rewind really quickly. What is accessible?
Accessible is honestly a crazy new thing that's actually starting. It's one of the biggest things I've had to work with. I just redesigned LG's Signature Kitchen website because of the fact it wasn't accessible, and you can get sued like that. And
Yeah.
this is a big issue moving forward. You need to make sure your fonts aren't super small. You're not overusing red, because red is actually an error state, and a lot of people love to use red. We use red,
Yeah.
Keystone Team Black and red is good, but we really need to make sure your colors, your typography is used so everybody can read it, see it, because colorblind is like 8% of the population,
Yeah.
right? So you need to really think and be conscious about how people with disabilities can access your website, because then you're going to be cutting off a huge portion of clientele,
Yeah.
right? And actually, fun fact, Google will not show you in the rankings if you're failing. So if you try to type in your name on Google and you are passing ADA, you'll go higher up on rankings. If you're not, and you're not mobile friendly, you immediately start declining, right? You might not show up. I had a conversation with some jewelry store the other day, because they're like, how come you didn't come in first? Like, I didn't know you guys were right around the corner. And I was like, dude, I searched jewelry customization because I was getting my ring fixed.
Yeah.
And dude, bad SEO, I'm not going to go to you. You're literally a block away from me.
And you
That's
didn't
an
know it
issue.
existed.
Yeah, it's because they have an old website. It's ran by an older dude.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. If you don't think mobile first, right, you're just not going to go anywhere.
So now someone that's getting into the industry, they figured out their brand, who they want to be kind of in the industry, how they want to be portrayed. Now they got to go into getting a website and doing all of this. Like how is it possible to do all of this as a brand new agent?
Yeah, you're going to have to invest in yourself. Honestly, everything as a real estate agent that you'll get used to doing, everything's a hustle. You're not ever going to be focusing on one client at a time. That's never going to be the one thing that you're doing. In theory, you're multitasking across the board, right? Here's the start. You need to invest in yourself. And when you're investing in yourself, you need to invest in these specific things. Because at the front gate, if I came to you and you won, what's the first thing that you do when you hear about a new company or hear about a new thing?
I Google it.
And if you aren't there when you get searched, I'll immediately forget you. How many people hold cards in their hands for how long, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's not a thing anymore. Follow me on Instagram. Go to my website.
Yep.
Here it is, right? Here's my number, could work. But having that website is going to be extremely key to see who you are, what kind of style do you have, where are your listings at, how are you pushing the industry?
And what's very interesting too, that I think a lot of people don't understand, that we've talked about, is that you pretty much control the first 5 searches of your name, right? You have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You have all of these different things that you can control. Your website. That when someone searches Cyrus Moseni, most likely they're going to see what I want them to see.
Exactly.
If we do it right.
Exactly.
So when it comes down to now I'm going to go back to, I've been focusing on like a brand new agent, getting in the business, branding, so on and so forth. If you've been in the business for a long time, you can still do this. I call it slowing down to speed up, right? So what we need to do sometimes is, hey, maybe sometimes we need to take a step back, look at it, look at our playing field, and then say, okay, now let's build a correct branding strategy so that we can implement our marketing.
Yeah.
Because if we're implementing marketing without a correct branding strategy, you said something earlier, branding lives forever. I want my brand to live forever. I don't want it to die. And if I don't have a correct branding strategy, if I'm not out there hunting every single day, then my branding, my company will die.
Yeah,
right.
Essentially, you'll become a dinosaur, right? And unfortunately, that's a lot of real estate agents in general. And especially in this industry, one of the things that makes it so interesting is like what the company is doing. The Keystone team, we're always pushing forward. We're always making sure we look for the next best thing. You're taking inspiration not just from real estate, but you're taking inspiration from fashion, music, automotive, like beauty. Like you should be taking inspiration everywhere, because as design evolves, your brand should evolve, right? Doesn't mean your branding is stuck, right? That's what I get hired for all these other big brands. Every few years, they need to evolve to the next level, right? Everybody's always consistently changing. There's always new trends. There's always something new and interesting. There's always new technology. So you need to make sure you are evolving with them. And it's okay to take a step back and understand where you need to go. Maybe you're not current now, but you could be relevant, right? You could get back into the conversation. You're never off the plate unless you want to be off.
I love that. I appreciate you for coming down, and also I'm going to hold you to it. I'm going to have you on a weekly basis until I can't get you here anymore. Thank you so much. Ryan, where do they find you?
You can go to nativefocus.com. That's right now. During COVID, we opened up this really great consulting company. We help out with designs. We help out with consulting. We can help basically create and mold your brand if it needs a redesign, if it needs to just be built from the ground up. We're out here to help and start. So look me up in native-focus.com.
Cool, killer. I appreciate you for coming and look forward to talking to you next week.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate it.